I think that to lead, you have to have, honestly, I think you must have some very special qualities. I think to lead, you have to be able to make decisions. And when you make that decision, you have to be very forceful in the implementation of it. You know, I don't think you can be like a bad halfback. If you're going around end and you're looking over your shoulder, then you get tackled. If you're going around end, if that's the play you're going to play, then you better go at it just as hard as you can.
Telescope. Brought to you by General Motors of Canada, makers of Canada's most popular cars and trucks, and Frigidaire appliances.
Our subject tonight is a kind of global landlord. Ronald D. Southern is a 35-year-old Canadian who is the younger partner in a father-son team that builds entire cities. Their assembly lines turn out houses, apartments, banks, jails, post offices, and theaters, hospitals, libraries, airport control towers, schools, and office buildings, as many as 12 units a day. From Calgary and Elizabeth, Australia, they send their cities anywhere in the world, by water, air, through jungles, over deserts, to the Arctic and the Antarctic. Ron Southern, son of a former Calgary fireman, takes pride in building a better mousetrap than taking it to his customer's door. That door may be a weather station at the South Pole, the Kremasta Dam near Athens, the Mangla Dam in Pakistan, or deep in the Venezuelan jungle, the Guri Dam on the Caroni River. In just 18 years, Ron Southern's industrial housing company has grown from a $1,500 investment to a $20 million a year business, the largest of its kind in the world, all based on the result of a combination principle, simple as a child placing toy blocks end to end and side by side. East, west, north, and southern, right after this message. Entire communities are conceived here, the drafting department of Atco Industries in Calgary. And this is the data processing center where every housing unit is first built of cards. Perpetual inventory is kept mechanically. Complexity and geographical spread mean constant war against anarchy, directed from this attack room.
Great. Don Carmy tomorrow. And come on in.
Bother you for a minute?
Yeah, come on in.
Looks like we got a scheduling problem, Ron.
All decisions involving more than $300,000 must go to the boss. This one concerns units to be flown to Vietnam for the U.S. Navy.
What's up?
We just got the order for Page Communications.
Right.
There's 2 8x30 electronic bands for Vietnam.
U.S. Navy.
And basically, they're our standard unit, but we got a tough delivery problem.
How fast is it?
10 days from receipt of a order.
10 days.
10 days.
Did you say they're going to pick it up here?
They're going to fly 2 C-130Bs in here and fly it from here right into Vietnam.
Well, it should be good publicity anyway. You talked to production?
No, I was going to leave that up to you.
I brought a schedule in just to see if it's possible to fit it into a special project shop or someplace, Mark. This is the first order with this particular agency, isn't it?
Sure.
Well, we should try to do it if they get a good price.
Roy, John here. Could you give me a shot of the MRI board, please?
Closed-circuit television links all Southern executives with the attack room. Dr. John Wood heads up Mechanics Research Incorporated, the youngest in the Southern family of 17 companies.
What's your estimate of the time?
Well, according to the program plan, it'll take about 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Well, my only concern is on the manpower available at MRI right now for that.
MRI tests and measures for all North American industry, assessing such exotic effects as the spaghetti softening influence of axial acceleration on a slender missile, or the problem of slosh dampening. MRI is evidence that the Southerns look to space engineering projects for future growth.
Operator, could you give me Mechanics Research Inc. in Los Angeles?
Ron, can you give us an idea of the geographical spread of Atco's current activities?
Fletcher, as you may know, our company exports over 70% of its products. Some of the more interesting programs that we're involved in right now are in the Indian Ocean at a place called Mahi Island. We're providing, it's about 1,000 miles east of Mombasa, here in the Seychelles group. We're providing complete housing for the tracking station on the two-man orbit for the astronauts in the United States. This installation is barrack blocks, kitchen diners, recreation facilities, but also the electronic buildings that do the actual tracking. In Venezuela, we're providing a complete town at a place called Guri. This consists of schools, hospitals, houses for married folk, and bachelor quarters.
They're building a dam at Guri, aren't they?
Yes, this is a large dam that's being built by a consortium of international companies headed by Kaiser Industries out of Oakland. Here in Argentina, for ENI, the Italian state oil company, we're providing all of the housing for a pipeline that's being built from Terra del Fuego up to Buenos Aires. This housing is for the actual pipeline construction, but also the pumping stations for the resident operators in the years to come. We're doing a lot of work in Algeria and Libya in support of oil exploration and in the Persian Gulf. In Pakistan, we're doing a job for the World Bank on the water retention program. It's about 100 kilometers west of Lahore, the capital of West Pakistan.
The next thing is, Jim, I'd like you to bring us up to date on these orders in Muscat, Oman, and possibly Libya and Algeria. There you just came back and...
Nerve center for global operations is the attack room, with its listings of contracts, project progress, foreign exchange rates, everything updated daily and available by television circuit to young department heads.
It actually isn't a regular port of call.
One of Ron Southern's talents is the ability to assess men, then leave them with the responsibility of making their own decisions. He relies heavily on such young men as Norm Robertson, John DeVisser, Art Perry, Eric Wilson, Doug Duxbury.
It's all air-conditioned, I suppose, isn't it? Oh, yes, it would have to be there. Air-conditioned and heated. And heated? Yeah. It's pretty cold in the desert at night. Then from there, you went down to Algeria, and did you find out anything on that Sinclair complex?
The average age of Atco executives is 29. Many of Ron Southern's team attended Crescent Heights High School with him in Calgary.
He felt pretty sure they'd be going ahead. There's been a change of management over there, and it's just a question as to when they get settled down and go ahead.
The growth of the company has been unique and breathtaking since 1946, when Donald Southern Sr. used his savings and Air Force gratuities to buy several yellow utility trailers.
My father saw these units, and he thought that this would be a good way for me to earn money to make my way through university. We bought 10 of them, just a few $1,000s that we had. And we put them on service stations throughout the city of Calgary. And after 4, I was going to high school at the time, and on the weekends I'd go around and change the tires and put the bolts in, collect the commissions. There was a football coach here in Calgary in 1946, 47, named Dean Griffin. On one Saturday afternoon, I went to his station on 17th Avenue West, and Dean said, "There's a fellow up here in Mount Royal that wants to sell a house trailer, and he's looking for you. He's moving out of town." I contacted him. We took the house trailer up to our home in a residential district. He wanted to, he had to move, and he wanted someone to sell the trailer for him. He wanted $1,400 for it. And we put a for sale sign in the window. The way I went to school, my father was working. 3 days later, we came back. My mother had sold it for $1,800. So that represented a $400 profit, same as my father made in a month of work at the fire department. The oil boom was just breaking in Alberta, the Leduc discoveries, and other fields in the north. And to serve the house trailer requirements of this boom, we quickly became the largest house trailer dealer in North America.
At what point did Atco start to manufacture trailers?
This would be in 1952. The house trailer business had grown, but so had the competition. There was a great deal of competition, and I think one of the key decisions that we made was to get out of the house trailer business, and in very, very modest facilities to start building industrial units. And we did just that.
Every year, the Calgary factory consumes 1 million pounds of aluminum and $9 million worth of raw materials, including 7,000 beds and mattresses. The factory is the special province of Donald Southern Sr.
I think my relationship was the same as any boy's to his father. As you're growing up, there's a lot of arguments, a lot of misunderstandings, and a lot of direction on the part of my father towards what I should be and what I should try to do. I think my father is the most outstanding man that I've ever met. He applies himself completely to the task at hand. And in our company today, he's responsible for all of our production. And if you see him in action, I think you'd know what I mean. One of the difficult things for a medium-sized Canadian company today that isn't supported, say, from a parent company outside the country is to provide their own research and development. As I'm sure you're aware, it's a very expensive proposition because there certainly is no guarantee that what you develop can be marketed. And you have to divert a lot of your resources, both in people and money, to carry on company-sponsored research and development. In 1959, the Royal Canadian Air Force had a requirement for relocatable houses. And ourselves and a couple of other companies in Canada were asked to make proposals on what could be done. We started working on a regular house, one that could go in a basement the same as you and I live in, but that could be cut down the middle, but built in those two halves right in a factory, not a prefab, but completely pre-built, with the plaster on the walls, the lighting fixtures in, the plumbing fixtures in. So it would just be a matter of taking it into the field and joining the two halves together. The first prototypes that we built in 1959 didn't really look that much like a house. But over the years, we have kept working at this, and today we have a product that is being marketed throughout Western Canada, the Northern Territories, and Alaska. It is a regular home. It qualifies for FHA financing in the United States, so that it can be bought on low down payment, and it qualifies for NHA financing in Canada. It has a big, I think, it will have this type of product, not just by Atco, but by other people that will build this product in the next decade. It will have an impact on the Canadian economy because the home provides everything that on-site building can give you. But in many of the areas that we have to open up in this country, it's very, very difficult to get skilled labor. And what we're doing is we're backing this skilled labor up onto a production line where the conditions can be controlled and the quality controlled. It provides the people with employment year-round. For example, this particular product qualifies for the winter bonus in Canada, even though the men working on it are working under another roof. I think that's very important, and I think in the next 10 years, 5 to 10% of all houses built in Canada will be built in factories. Not as prefabs, but as pre-built houses.
Telescope returns to join tonight's subject on a flying visit to some of his worldwide housing projects, east, west, north, and southern portable communities, in just a moment.
Business can be a tyrant and enormously demanding, but Ron Southern tries to spend as much time with his family as he can. On long trips, his wife Margaret often travels with him. If he had followed his original intention, he would be a physician today. From the University of Alberta, he gained his Bachelor of Science in Medicine, but stopped just 2 years short of a medical degree. Some days, a captain of industry can relax as captain of an 18-foot sloop. with his daughter Nancy as crew. 2-year-old Linda generally stays ashore. A most important milestone marked the year that the Southerns became international.
The first export contract we ever had, I think, opened our eyes. It was a very natural thing. You know, Alaska is really, by its position, somewhat of a captive market for Canadians. Morrison Knudsen, one of the world's largest construction companies, do a lot of work in Alaska. And they phoned us one day and asked if we could provide our type of equipment to one of their projects at a place called Clear, Alaska, where one of the distant early warning systems was going. And we built the units, transported them to Alaska, and all of a sudden we were exporting. True, it was just to Alaska, but we were exporting. And it made us realize that there are many, many companies in the world that have a logistics problem. This logistics problem is brought on by the advancing technology in industry. It's brought on by the fact that when these companies bid a job, they must complete it within as fast a time period as possible. In the past, let's take a job like the Boulder Dam. The Boulder Dam, when it was built, took 15 years. And today, the same amount of work, for example, the Peace River Dam, about the same amount of work, will be completed in 4 years. This advancing technology means that the project managers, have to go like this. They have to say, I have a dam to build. I can't be worried about my hospital. I can't be worried about my barrack blocks. They come to companies like ours and say, you do the job. You prepare the site. You move in the buildings. You feed them. You housekeep them. This is what Atco does.
An international role means travel. Altogether, 250,000 miles a year. This is the Alberta Tar Sands project. These wheels were the running gear that rolled north to Fort McMurray, carrying units of a school to be assembled on the site. Cloakrooms, blackboards, desks, washrooms, bulletin boards, everything down to the last pencil sharpener came from the Calgary factory. The running gear will be returned, but the school will stay for the use of Métis and Indian children. By air out of Anchorage, Alaska, to a special housing unit. This one on top of an offshore drilling rig built for an oil company by Kaiser Industries, straddling Arctic waters like a giant's kitchen stool. This one has a helicopter port on its roof and is designed to withstand the gargantuan winter thrust of 60-foot ice flows and Cook's Inlet currents, being tested and measured by Mechanics Research Incorporated. "60 feet above the water, men live in urban apartment comfort, oil-heated, fluorescent lighted. Ron Southern confers with the project manager. Next, in New York, a discussion with Edgar Kaiser, for whom Ron Southern has built many housing units, from whom he buys much aluminum.
The next time you come to Canada, I want to show you what we're doing. I think we have some good thoughts, ones that are reducing the costs and making the units more usable, more flexible.
But it's that reuse that's going to pay off to the contractors later on.
Right. And another thing that's really helped, I think, in aluminum, prior to the last year, we've been using just a straight aluminum. Now we're using a pre-finished aluminum, one that's
anodized?
Right. And so we're getting a 10, 15-year life on the finish.
Are you doing any color?
Right, in color.
Yeah.
Right.
That's good.
So that makes the units look a lot better.
And breaks the monotony of the group.
That's
that's
a big
good.
factor.
Have you got any of them up?
Yeah.
Where?
Well, at Gold River for the Tassis company, a Danish company that are putting in a pulp mill.
Gold River, next port of call in the wild interior of Vancouver Island, where a southern town is home for loggers. For the Southerns, the magic letter is H. Such housing complexes as these are made up of modular units generally in the shape of an H. The crossbar containing washroom and laundry facilities for the bachelor apartments in each complex.
Colonel, how were you satisfied with...
Sunnyvale, California, headquarters of the Space Systems Division of the U.S. Air Force.
Oh, I think it was outstanding. I don't know how we possibly could have gotten along without it. You people put in our capability in such a hurry to meet our immediate requirement, and it was just a terrific setup, even in the inclement weather that we had up there with the high winds and heavy rains, where it stood up admirably, and we were real satisfied with it.
Traveling 250,000 miles a year, a man has time for many thoughts about many things.
I think at a particular level in any person's life, you have a home, and if you can send your children to school and feed your family, have a car and maybe take a holiday. And I'm not trying to be mundane here either. It seems to me that there's a particular point when money starts to lose its importance. I think if the money stopped, it'd soon become very important again. But above that point, I guess some individuals are looking at an accumulation of money. To me, the money goes back into this business, the business grows, it's part of my life, it's what I want to see happen. You know, it's a great thrill to see people come from Calgary, realize that they can do things as professionals in another part of the world, to see the pride in these people grow and their confidence in themselves. That's a good thing, too. I think the race has just begun. It's only 18 years old, and there's many other more years to go through. I think that Atco has just really begun to grow. I think I could have been a good doctor. I like medicine, and I think I would have been satisfied being in medicine. But when I left medicine, I made my mind up that I would never second-guess the decision I was making. I've never regretted leaving. My wife and I talked about that before I left medicine. And I've never regretted coming into this business because it's filled my every hour, and I've enjoyed it.
What sort of things disturb you, perhaps even make you angry in your business life, Ron?
Incompetence in government. A lack of understanding of what this country should be trying to accomplish, not necessarily in government, but by people.
A general short-sightedness, as it were?
I think so. I think too often today we try to look back and analyze where we are because of what happened in the past. Look at this country, Fletcher. Look at the mountains, the open areas. Look at the rest of the world. And look at Canadians. You know, you can go into a bar in the middle of Australia, sidle up to the bar, in comes an outbacker, and he says, boy, we got good, you know, he orders a beer. He says, haven't we got good swimmers and tennis players? And he's proud of it. And in Canada, we're proud of our hockey players, aren't we? Why can't we be proud of our industry, of our people, of our opportunities? That makes me mad when we don't have that.
What occurs to you as being the most immediate need in the housing area on the moon?
Well, you have to have a system that's capable of sustaining life. You have to have an environment on the moon. There have been some pretty exotic studies made on this in some of the major companies in the United States. At the present time, I think the feeling is that an inflatable structure is the ideal method rather than a hardware-type structure. I don't think that we're close to doing this, Fletcher, at the present time. I think that in the next 10 years, we could be involved because of the joining up of our engineering forces with our housing capabilities.
Well, one thing is certain, whatever is needed, it's going to have to be transportable.
That's right.
Next week, Telescope crosses the Atlantic to pay a visit to Blenheim Palace, the birthplace of Sir Winston Churchill, and the present residence of the 10th Duke of Marlborough. John Albert William Spencer Churchill provides us with an insight into an old order which has indeed changed.
There's no question of whether you're Pierre or anybody else. I mean, there are a lot of people who live in large country houses there who aren't necessarily Pierres, but they are all experiencing the same difficulty. of maintaining our properties and also being able to find enough domestics to run it. But of course, one doesn't know what the future is going to portend.
Until next week, Fletcher Markle for Telescope.
Telescope has been brought to you by General Motors of Canada, makers of Canada's most popular cars and trucks, and Frigidaire appliances.